Well, hello everyone. There's no one in the room yet, but there will be soon enough. Let me say hello in the comments section. Hello, Christina. Hello, Sally. Hello there. All right, so we had a bit of a false alarm earlier on today, didn't we? While I was trying to set up a screen recording to be able to share my screen with you and be able to live stream, and it just did not work out. So I've decided to do a screen recording of the assignment data, which I will upload to Canvas for you, but I'll talk you through how to use the assignment data. Hi, Susuf. Welcome aboard. So it feels like spring, doesn't it? Spring is in the air. The sun is shining. Birds are chirping. And it feels a little bit warmer, which is really, it's warm, isn't it? Yeah. So I am quite happy about that, to tell you the truth. I feel like I've been in hibernation. Oh gosh, so much has happened outside. The lawn has been mowed, and it's been beautiful weather for the wineries. I live in wine country out here on the Bellarine Peninsula, so there's lots of vineyards and lots of nice places to visit. Finally get rid of the heavy coat. Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. Yeah, it's nice to see some sun, feel some sun. That's right. So where are you guys at? You're doing developmental psychology at the moment, aren't you? How is that going? Is Abby looking after you? Oh, spring cleaning time. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my whole office is about to undergo a radical transformation. Yes, there is some serious spring cleaning about to go down in my house. Loving the lectures. The tutorials are really engaging too. Okay, that's good. Abby is a very good lecturer. It's her first time lecturing for Mind, Brain, and Behavior 2, and I'm just so happy to have her on board. She is incredible. Oh, what? Susuf, how dare you turn on me? I mean, I'm not looking for that. Yeah, as Christina says, I'm not looking for that level of honesty. What the? No, I'm kidding. You can have your favorites. That's fine. Abby is very commonly a favorite and really knows her stuff. So that's great. Oh, hi there, Black Orc. Or should I say Blue Orc? Or should I say Black Orc Peas? How's Charlie? Charlie is very well, thank you. He is he's outside enjoying the spring sunshine right now. So yes, he is doing very well. So I think this is your last week of Abby, isn't it? We're in week 6. So yes, this is the last week with Abby. And then next week you will have Yoshi and social psychology, which I just know you're going to like. And you'll find the practical classes in particular to be very enjoyable with social psychology. We're going to set you the task of messing with people's minds. Hi, Ria. Yes, you're going to get to manipulate people's behavior in a good way. So I've spent a lot of the day today preparing. Hi, Aled. Well, that is why you get into psychology, isn't it? I've spent a lot of the day today preparing your assignment data, and I'm looking at it right now. And oh, look, you know what I could do? I could actually share a screenshot, couldn't I? I could share a screenshot or can I, via the comments section? I suppose there's only one way to find out. I wonder if I can. No, it's not going to let me share a screenshot. Oh, damn you, YouTube. Yeah. Oh well. Intro back. Okay, so let's talk about assignments then. Intro. So what week are we? When did you submit this intro? Was it last Monday? Does that sound right? It's been such a blur. Let me have a look at my calendar here. It was last Monday, wasn't it? The deadline for the assignment. Yeah. Oh, hi from Papua New Guinea there, Nick. So for each assignment, it'll be a 3-week turnaround, and this is what happens. So I currently have the 30-something tutors that are working on the course, all marking your assignments. They're going through, firstly, a benchmarking procedure where they learn to mark consistently and apply the marking criteria consistently. They mark the same essays. So everybody marks a small set of the same essays, and then they break off into pairs and they cross mark so that they can check against each other and then against the group that everybody's coming up with the same scores for the same assignments. And once that's done, then we start marking for real. And each tutor marks all of their classes. Now they've got 2 weeks to do that, which means they need to have all of their assignment marking of all of your marks done and to me by the end of this week. And then next week, we'll be very nice to you, Christina. Next week, what will happen is that I'm going to take all of their data and with Caitlin and with Amy, collate their data into one big spreadsheet, and then we're going to statistically analyze that data. And we do this in a number of ways. We will understand what the entire distribution is like. We will compare the marking statistically of each tutor against each other tutor and make sure that nobody is marking unreliably. So it's another second layer of checking that the marks are going to be reliable. So we really want to know that the marks are correct by the time they go back to you. And that takes a few days. So what we plan to do is release the marks not the coming Monday, but the Monday after at 8 a.m. It'll be precisely 3 weeks to the deadline when it was submitted. Did people with extensions postpone that process? Not necessarily. It depends on the length of the extension. I'm just going to call you Blue Orc. Blue Orc. And so people with longer extensions may need to wait a little bit longer to get their mark. There might be extensions that are, more than 3 weeks, for example, in special circumstances. Yeah, it is a really big undertaking, Aled. It's a process. It's a process that really we sort of refined a few years ago. The benchmarking, the cross marking, the marking, and then the statistical checking, and it works well. So, from my perspective as a coordinator or as a lecturer, with anything with data, I want to make sure the data's right. So, of course, it takes a little bit of extra time. It probably realistically almost doubles the amount of time that it would take to otherwise just give someone, a pile of essays and they just mark away. But the end result is that we have a reliable and valid set of marks. Hi, Snowy. Yeah, it is a thorough process and an expensive one, as you can imagine. So it's great that the school has supported that with payment. You can imagine over 30 people. We're talking about tens of thousands of dollars just for marking reliability. Oh, you'd like to mark your own? That's so kind. Thank you, Black Orc. That would be a great help. Yeah, thank you. Funnily enough, though, that is actually going to start happening next year. What? Not how you might think, but sort of. So it's entirely possible that the marking that the tutors are doing this year ends up being done by students next year. But there's a twist. I promise you there's a twist to it. Well, no, see, that's the thing, Rachel. You shouldn't get the way we're setting this up with this project is that you shouldn't get less marks if you were scoring yourself, nor should you get higher marks. You should get precisely the same mark. So we're setting up as part of the educational process to teach you how to write. We're building in instruction in how to mark, and there's no better way, I think, to learn how to write or to learn something than effectively have to teach it or to assess it. No, all the psychology students, Black Orc, will be marking. Yeah, exactly. So if you go on to second year psychology and third year psychology, you will begin to assess your own work yourself. Again, there's going to be a twist. So let me let you in on some secrets, seeing you guys all tuned in. I have collated the assignment data, and I'm going to put it up online for you this afternoon. I've created a spreadsheet of the data in Excel. And if you don't know what Excel is, it's a program that lets you work with numbers. And I've also created an SPSS file with all of the data in it. And you'll be able to use both of these files to do the results for your assignment and also to work in practical classes. There we go. Brain not working. In fact, why don't I? You would be surprised, Marley. Why don't I go to modules right now and I'll upload the spreadsheet so you can see what I'm talking about. So he presses add. He goes to upload a file. It's a new file. He chooses the file. Assignment data, student copy. Oh, let me just click save on it one last time in case I've made adjustments, which I probably have. Oh, I've even shown you how to do the first analysis. Oh, God. I'm way too nice. That'll do. All right. Teaching, assignment data, student copy, open, add the item. Okay, so now you will find in the assignment information and submission folder the spreadsheet I'm talking about. It's called 2019 Assignment Data Student Copy. That is in Canvas. So if you have a look at that, you'll see that I have collated the information or all of the data from the survey responses that were collected before we started the clinical psychology course, and then all of the survey responses that were collected after we completed the clinical psychology section of the subject. And I've called the data collected at time 1 pre-intervention. So that's the pre, and that's standard language around this type of repeated measures research design. Pre-intervention is the data that comes before, and then post-intervention is the data that comes after. So the post-intervention data is to the right, you'll see, and then at the end, you'll see I've created scale scores for the affective reaction, the dangerousness scale, and the social distance scale. And then I've given you the means and standard deviations and standard errors and minimum and maximum scores, some notes, and I've even demonstrated how to plot a figure for the very first hypothesis, which would have been about affective reactions. I will very shortly for you as well upload the data to SPSS. Don't let SPSS scare you, Black Orc. It is warm and fuzzy. I love SPSS. And Excel can, if you know Excel, you'll be fine with Excel and SPSS as well. And Amber, no, you won't get marked down if you don't discuss t-tests. So there's 2 ways in which you can approach this data for the results section. One is to plot a figure and talk about what you see in the figure. Now, if you guys are already having a look at that spreadsheet on Canvas, the pattern of findings is pretty obvious. And Marley, in the spreadsheet, you'll find that I've given you the standard deviations, the means, the standard error, etc., etc. Hi, Lola. Yeah, that was a typo. 87 is the correct one. Sorry about that. So what do you think? Do you think the intervention worked or not? Having a look at the data for anybody that is. Or just guesses. Who thinks it would have worked? The spreadsheet looks scary. Yeah. Levi says yes. So based on the complete responses that we collected, and in terms of complete responses, so they were people that provided both sets of data and both sets of complete data. We had 772. So our sample size for this particular study is 772 out of the 1,500 people. That's how many people actually gave us both sets data. And that's a pretty decent sized sample, particularly for the type of statistical tests that you could do here. And I'll let you in on the skinny. I did the tests today, and for each measure, so the cognitive, the emotional, the behavioral, and again, we're getting at, so we're speaking in terms of the affective reactions, the dangerousness scale, the social distance scale. For each one of those scales, the scores, and so I should point out that higher scores on the scales represent more stigma. And so in theory, one was looking to see the scores drop following the intervention compared to what they were like before the intervention. And that's precisely what we saw for each scale. So each scale dropped, and using a repeated measures t-test for each one of those things, for each scale, and its comparison with pre and post mean scores, there were statistically significant effects for each scale, significant at less than 0.001. So super significant differences, which basically means that this effect is likely to be present in the broader population of university students who would undergo this type of intervention. So super significant findings, which is great. And I'm going to follow up with a video that basically talks you through running those analyses so you can see how to do it. And also demonstrate how you can make figures for your lab report results section. So again, you don't need to do a t-test for your results. You can or not, I don't care. I'm telling you the answer either way. You can also plot figures, and figures is really what I want to see at a minimum for each hypothesis. And I imagine when you structure your results section, you'll structure it in 3 sections. So you've got hypothesis 1 section, and you deal with that, and then hypothesis 2 section, and then you deal with that, and then the hypothesis 3 section. And in each one of those sections, I would recommend starting by talking about the data that you use to address the hypothesis. So to address hypothesis 1, the prediction that blah 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 blah, the survey data for the affective reactions scale, pre and post was compared, and the results can be seen in the figure that you would provide. And then after you sort of provide your figure, and then you could go on to talk about what is in the figure and what there's more of and what there's less of, thinking about pre and post scores. But the p-value is just a representation of the likelihood that the given effect would actually occur in the population, is likely to be present more broadly than just in your sample. That's basically what it is. Mathematically, it's talking about the probability of the null hypothesis being true, or basically in the context of our study, it's talking about the probability that the intervention doesn't actually work, that it's not an effective intervention. And so what our findings have suggested is that there's a probability of less than 1/10%, less than 100% actually, that is the case based on the data that came out from SPSS. And Victoria, unfortunately, I can't tell you your own survey result. just because I don't have time to make the data available for you all. What I had to do was firstly use the student numbers that were provided to match the data. Then once I'd matched the data, I had I removed all the student numbers. I then randomized the order of the data, and then I applied a new participant identifier. So there's no way in a spreadsheet that any individual can be identified according to their responses. Describing figures, words in figures and describing figures. Oh, Amber, I'm going to refer you for that question to the student manual that is in the on Canvas, the undergraduate student manual, the years 1 to 3 one, because it has all of the current policies. I'm referring to it right now. So the word count policy can be found on page 17 of that manual, and it's in Canvas. I've just grabbed it from Canvas really quickly. So the word count should include all text in the body of the work, including in-text citations, but exclude all words in the title, abstract, headings, tables, figures, captions for tables and figures, references, and appendices. So if you are speaking in text about a table, then that is going to count towards a word count. But if you're actually got text in your table, that's not going to count towards the word count, if that makes sense. Positive skew. The distributions looked pretty normal, Levi, actually. You'll get to have a tinker with the data in, well, I'm going to put the SPSS file up on, well, you've already got the Excel file there, and you could certainly plot that, or you could do it in SPSS. That'll be up there this afternoon too. So that years 1 to 3 student manual, it's got all the policies for everything. So word count, late penalties, extensions, any citations and referencing, lots of information about exams, just generally anything you'd want to know as a psychology student. You will find those sorts of things in there. Holy hell, how do I have 111 emails in my inbox? I basically cleared that this morning. Good Lord. Okay, so questions, my dears? Who has a question about the assignment data at all? What inspired the MBB2 live streams? I did them for MBB1 as well. And I suppose they've just been something that is an evolution, has been an evolution. So when I started coordinating Mind, Brain, and Behavior 1 last year, I started doing some vlogs. And the idea was to contextualize the lecture content and what you were learning by speaking with and interacting with yourselves and with other people that maybe worked in areas that were relevant to the content that you were learning. So, for example, when I lectured about learning and conditioning, opera and classical conditioning and these sorts of things, I did a day at the zoo where I hung out with some marine mammal training colleagues, and we talked about how they applied conditioning in their work. I just find it's a really good way for us to check in with each other and to speak and to interact. And it just, I think, really adds a meaningful, for me at least, a meaningful layer, I think, of engagement for the subject. And I did a couple of live streams and they just seem to go over really well with people. So I think there's just something about this opportunity to hang out and to ask questions. You know, it just makes things a little bit more real. And, you know, I've got a little bit of a plan for live streams that are coming up. So in October, I will be going to some psychiatry conferences and some stigma conferences around the world. So I'll be live streaming with you from Singapore and from Italy and from Prague and Amsterdam throughout the month of October. And so even though I'm not here, I'll still be checking in, and I'll be seeing if I can grabbing, good Lord, speak English, Chris. I'll be seeing if I can grab people from those conferences that it might be interesting for you to hear from, and have them join the live stream. Maybe we'll see if we can tune in on a live conference presentation or something like that. Oh, good. I'm glad that you guys like them. Do I recommend looking at other lab reports of how, sort of. I mean, I would look at Simon Lilburn's How to Write a Lab Report modules on Canvas. They're good to follow, and there's more guidance coming up in practical classes as well. So still a lot of information on the recipe for writing a lab report, and that's really what it is. It's a recipe. It's very formulaic, methodological in terms of its structure, and if you just do what you need to do in the order that you need to do it, you practically can't go wrong. Okay, so there's a couple of good questions here I need to answer. So one is about reverse coding and one is about the structure of the spreadsheet. Good. All right, so let me open up my spreadsheet window. Okay, so the very top row in orange, I'm just, you can sort of see that I've tried to identify the items. Everything under that orange banner is from the first survey. Everything under the green banner is from the second survey. And then the first column is for participants. That's to identify just the participant. So participant 1 is in row number 3 on the spreadsheet, to be precise. AR equals affective reaction. So the affective reaction scale, and so AR1 is the first question from that scale. And so what you could do, if you wanted to, would be to have a look back at the document that I put on the LMS that has the various scales in its appendix, and you would see that the first question on the affective reaction scale was one of those bipolar statements, or sort of two words that were polar opposites. And for question 1, it was pessimistic and optimistic. So if you were to interact with Jim Johnson, how would you feel? Pessimistic or optimistic? Which leads us into the other question, which was about reverse coding. For the purposes of your results, across all of the results, I've coded the data such that more stigma equals higher scores. That was not the starting point for necessarily all of the scales. So, for example, the social distance scale, if you don't reverse its scores, it just naturally falls out that higher scores indicate less desire for social distance. So less stigma equals higher scores on that before you change things up. So I've changed everything up so that higher scores mean more stigma. So we want to see the scores drop from time 1 to time 2, from pre-intervention to post-intervention. And indeed, that's what you see when you look at the mean scores for each one. The questions in the dangerousness scale and the affective reactions scale that I've reverse coded, so I've reverse coded individual items. These are items that were worded such that higher scores would have indicated less stigma. So I've changed them, I've flipped them around such that the higher scores indicate more stigma. And basically, when I say I've reverse coded, specifically what I mean is on each measure, we used a Likert scale with 6 points, so 1 through to 6, representing the various points on the scale that could have been selected. So when I've reverse coded, the 1s have become 6s and the 6s have become 1s. So I've flipped the scale. The 5s become 2, the 2s become 5s, the 4s become 3s, the 3s to become 4s. So you reverse the scores. So I have, just for your interest, and it's nothing you need to know about, like really, I've prepared everything for you in that final demographics little table that I've presented over to the right of the raw survey data. You actually don't need to do anything with the raw survey data. I've calculated the mean standard deviation and also the standard error for your figures that you might create. And so there's very little that you need to do, but should you want to tinker and should you want to explore and should you want to see where all this data came from, I've just included it all. But don't think that you have to do anything per se with all of that raw data. You don't, unless you want to do a t-test, and then you can. Or a t-test for each hypothesis, I should say. Hi, Grace. It is in the assignment module, down the bottom of the assignment module. I think it's just about time I started training for Italy. It's about time of the day. Oh, nearly. It's 3:41. It's too early to start my Italy training yet. In the form of an Aperol Spritz. And maybe a limoncello afterwards. Recoded, reverse coding, yeah. Sounds like I'm speaking your language, Sally. It's just, you know, some of the things that we academics have to endure. I'll be sweating, laboring, working hard while I'm sipping on an Aperol Spritz on the Amalfi Coast. Espresso martini. I don't think I've ever had an espresso martini in Italy. I've had lots of espresso. I've had lots of martinis, but I don't know if I've actually had an espresso martini in Italy. Maybe I did in Rome at some point. I don't know. I generally try to generally end up consuming my body weight in Aperol spritz when I'm there. Do I have a graphic representation of the data? I'm wondering if you'll make me a graphic representation of the data. I've actually already demonstrated how, well, I should say there can't speak. There already is one graph in the spreadsheet that I gave you. It's a graph for the first hypothesis. So if you look at the notes at the end, I've got the range of possible scores and measures, the descriptive statistics, the notes, and then hypothesis one. And I've created a little table with pre and post, mean and standard error. And I've put in the data there from the affective reaction scale, and you can see the pre and post bars there. You can see the pre is higher than the post. And I've given you the start in the video that I'm going to record. So for those who have just joined us, I was on here testing earlier on, and some people were here watching me test the technology when I was trying to set up that I would be able to flip between the camera and also sharing my screen with you. That didn't work out. So I'm going to record another screen recording video where I demonstrate how to work with the data to create your figures that you can put into your results section of your assignment. And then you will be able to follow along quite easily. Oh, all right. Hang on just 1 second for me. Okay. SE is standard error. Hang on 1 sec. Sorry, delivery. And delivery came. Charlie, you've got one of my socks. Deary me. It's my sock. Oh, yeah, so SE, standard error. Have I ever co-worked with a composer for melodic representation of the data? No, I haven't. What would it be a melodic representation of the current data? Brow, brow, brow. It all worked. Chew it, Charlie. Charlie, come up here and say hello to everyone. Come on, come up here. Hey, come here. Come. What are you doing? Oh, you're so funny. You say hello to everyone. Oh, yes, kisses. You're all doing an assignment. Do you want to do an assignment? Yes. Yes. You can see that's where he had his IV drip there when he had his operation recently. But we're all okay. We're all okay. He's so big now, isn't he? You guys have been watching him grow. He's out of there. He's got his toy. He's going for it. Charlie, do my assignment, please. Consonants versus dissonance. That would be well, that would be very interesting. Unfortunately, I can't give marks for this, but you sound like you are right up there on your music theory, Levi. Are you doing a music degree as well, or you're just a musician in addition to being a psychology student? Both blue and yellow mean reverse coding. Oh, okay. So Lola, the blue and yellow. So the blue just means that was the original state of the variable of the data, and then the yellow is where I've reverse coded something. So it's what it's ended up being after reverse coding. And I reverse coded the social distance scale as a whole rather than reverse coding each individual question. That's why I've just given yellow highlighting for the social distance scale total scores. A dog did my assignment. Yeah, certainly different to a dog ate my assignment. Oh, 2 Masters of Fine Arts. Okay, geez. Not some. Now back to psychology in your spare time. Came from music academia. There you go. Chewit Charlie. I think we've got all of our. So I go to Italy for conferences. Sort of. The conferences are in Prague and in Singapore, but I'll be doing some lab visits and taking some time out for myself as well. And then I'll actually be back in Florence in Italy in March, again for another conference. Struggling with your gender study 1,500 word essay. You'll be right. Ah, your home country. There you go. I cannot wait. It's going to be a great conference. I've got five presentations to give. God, kill me. 5 different presentations and 5 different research projects. But I love Singapore. Always love it when I'm there. A regular at Long Beach Seafoods. Got to get that black pepper mud crab. Oh my God. Yeah. They also do a good chili crab. Yeah. Sure, Grace. I generally historically have recommended EndNote. However, more recently, I've started working with Mendeley. It's free, and it seems to work well between iPad and the computer and online. It's good for collaborating, so I would try Mendeley. I'd give that a go. Or EndNote is also free through the university. How are you finding Mendeley, Christina? It's part of your training, Black Orc. What are you training for? Is this like general health and fitness training? Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. I mean, you can't tell because I'm like the size of a baby elephant, but I've actually lost 10 kilos in about the last month. Oh, I've got too many windows open. Oh, why have I got music going on? What's going on? What's going on? Music's playing. Ah. Oh, what on earth? Oh my god. It's oh god, what is going on? The doorbell's ringing. Hang on. What's going on here? Got so many windows open. I've no idea what's going on. Everybody's knocking on the door. This is insane. um. Oh, thanks, Levi. Oh, Black Orc, that's great. Well done. Good. Copies. I'll tell you what. I can tell you exactly what it was. It was my nephew sent me a YouTube video. Yeah, I know, very busy, and it somehow started automatically playing. It's because he does oh god, what's it called? Beat Saber on virtual reality. That's him there. And he was just showing me his new video. He's actually very good at it. I have no idea how he does it. It's incredible. But and then there was somebody just so we've just had a delivery and somebody trying to sell me a solar light bulb or something. The screen looks creepy. I've just been throwing a microfiber cloth over it. Charlie, what are you doing, puppy? Hey, what do you reckon? Maybe Charlie can help me do the screen recording video for you. Oh, the most useful experiment in psychology. Wow. God, that is a big question. IKEA furniture and Nespresso capsules. I think those two things meaningfully go together, Snowy Emu. Well done. Most useful experiment in psychology. Wowzers, that is a big question. I might have to get back to you on that one, Marley. I don't want to give you a flippant sort of off the top of my head answer. I think I actually want to think about this one. Charlie, what are you barking at? It's probably that person trying to sell us the light bulb. Oh my god. Chris.exe stopped working. How many psychologists does it take to change a light bulb? Ain't that the truth? What are you doing, Charlie? What on earth? Charlie Puss. Oh, Lord. All right, you guys. Has anybody got any final assignment questions before we reboot Groot? I should probably go and record that screen recording video for you. How do you pass? What? Can you do it for me? Sure. Cognitive bulb therapy. Oh, someone had a question. Scroll up. Oh, standard error. Right. It's just the standard deviation of the distribution of sample means. So we use it as a measure of variability when we're working with the distribution of sample means. In other words, we use it as a measure of variability when we're doing probability-based tests that would use that particular distribution. You can, yeah, H1's for everybody, Levi, absolutely. I've provided it there so that people who choose to do t-tests will be able to create error bars in their figures using standard error if they so wish. Good luck at the gym, Black Orc. Pump some iron. All right, everyone. I'm going to upload that SPSS file I was talking about and record this screen recording for you, showing you the data. You're welcome, people. Christina, it's not all that hard to get into honors. I mean, sure it is, but this is the other thing that's important to remember when you do first year work. Your first year scores don't count towards honors, so immediately no stress with this year's scores, right? But you just need to maintain a pretty high average score for your psychology mark. So we say that you're competitive if you've got a mid-70s or higher average on your psychology marks. Realistically, you want to be in the H1 averages for yeah, oh, it's pretty high. Access to any of those postgraduate courses is based upon having an H1 average. So if you want to do honors, you want to do a master's, you want to do a doctorate, you've got to have the H1 or higher average. Well, if your hypotheses were incorrectly phrased for some reason, then your tutor might direct you to, but otherwise, no, you wouldn't change your hypotheses, Rachel. If you predicted that there wouldn't be an effect, that's fine. Well, it's not sort of fine in that we're predicting an effect, and that's predicting the null, but I'm assuming everybody was predicting effects, and so the findings will actually be in direction with that. But even if they weren't, let's flip it around and say you did predict an effect and there hypothetically wasn't, or there actually wasn't, then that's fine. Either way, it's science, right? Okay, see you, Grace. Good luck with algebra. So either way, we find something. So never feel like you have to fiddle around with hypotheses to get them to match data. It's never the case. And basically, if you found that the data did not support your hypothesis, then you could think about why that would be. And is it something methodological, or is there something that's different between your study and the previous studies that you might have based your rationale upon? And could it be something about that? And it's an opportunity for you in your discussion section to think about and to try and account for what the difference may be. So, Rachel, my advice to you would be not to stray too far from your introduction. If you have set your introduction up in a different way, I would suggest you don't want to rewrite the entire thing. You probably want to just roll with it and try and explain things. It's an interesting opportunity to do that. Okay, everyone, I am going to sign off. I'm going to have a quick check-in with my research team and see how their afternoon is going, and then I'm going to record that video for you. So look out for that screen recording video coming your way very shortly. Thanks, everyone. Oh, Levi's asking a question. Oh, right, yeah, don't worry about it. Yes, enjoy yourself, and you'll be fine. That's it. The thing to realize is that there is plenty of places for honors in this town across all of the universities for everybody who would possibly want to apply. So, stress not. Thanks, Snowy Emu. Okay, thanks, everyone. Have a good one. And I'll see you all on, where are we? Friday. We'll catch up with another stream this Friday. Okay, take care. Bye now. See you, Levi.